Staff and the people that was present. Alderman Cates, you were absent. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now I need a motion to adjourn.
Second. Now, moving back to our regular call meeting for tonight.
Can I, figure out something that's going on?
Mr. Fisher.
I need to read this. Special call means a board may call for a special call session when something important comes up that the board must deal with before the next regular session. Or if a matter comes up that is so important that it needs to be sole reason for an entire session, that is also a good reason to petition for a special call. There's no reason to have this special call, and I'm just asking, why are we having it?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I can address that if I may. There are several items on tonight's agenda in which time is of the essence. The first is the mosquito spray services. We wanted, ideally, to start that contract during the month of June. If we waited till June 17th, it would probably be the last week of June at the earliest before that bid, that service could be provided. There was a desire to get that moving. The second one was a request from one of the applicants. The Fairway Village Subdivision Section C, the contract amendment would allow for the developer, not the town, to put down the asphalt surface. He was approved for that Tuesday night by the Planning Commission, as was expected. I believe you were there. And the idea was that this could keep that moving, and it saves the town money. Last but not least, and this was me, I know there's great interest by the board, by many people in the community, to get the senior citizens, the Parks and Records Department Activity Center reopened. We have for you a proposal to evaluate the roof and the roof structure. If you accept that proposal with the architect, they will have a report to us within a week to 10 days, possibly before your June 17th meeting. And again, our desire there was, unfortunately, that project's still been lagging. I think all of us would agree on that. This was to keep that moving. The final item on tonight's agenda probably could have waited, but I wanted to bring it to the board's attention because it's a $167,500 swing. Last September, and we'll talk about this when we get there, last September, the Board of Aldermen awarded a subdivision paving contract in the amount of $921,000 with a $50,000 ad alternate. The resolution adopted by the board uses an $840,000 figure. And I'm real sensitive to this. When we get audited and we have a signed contract with one number and a resolution adopted by the board with another number, that's a finding. We don't need that. And so I was trying to get that cleaned up before the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, so you get one pick on a special call, correct? Special calls are called for a certain item, one item, not multiple items.
No.
No. Robert's rule says one item. Matter of fact, I just got through talking to a senator yesterday. One item. You only get one item. And that is in our code.
That's the state legislature.
One item
I would agree with that,
code,
state legislature.
in our code. And because the senator mentioned, it was in the state. It falls downhill too. We just can't keep calling special calls for everybody.
My
Last
understanding,
month was for, what was it, the Grant project over there at Byers Road. They wanted it because they messed up their variance, and so we had to have a special call on it. We're having needless special calls.
I don't think these items are
They're
needless.
needless until our meetings.
I don't think they're needless.
Okay,
I would
well,
disagree with that.
Okay, I appreciate that.
The objective was, if the board was meeting, that we take care of pending business. Now, I agree with you on one point.
But
You
we really
cannot-
had no
you
reason to
cannot-
meet
You
today.
cannot add to a special meeting call.
Right.
I agree with that. But this was in the call for the special meeting, these items.
All these items were in the special call. There's only one, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, usually not.
No.
But
Okay, if the board wants to pick one item, we put the
Wait a
rest.
minute, wait a minute. I got you, Mr.
Because-
Now, listen to Mr. Fisher,
Okay.
I'm gonna let Mr.
Well, you know, every meeting we have, citizens come up and explain, you know, how their roads are terrible. So you can check that one off the list because we've got an item on this agenda to fix roads. Also, you know, pest control is a big deal. People can get sick from mosquitoes. I would say if that's a time-sensitive thing, that would warrant a special call. The property and the roof of the property over there, it probably needs a special call so we can approve it to get it going, so our seniors can have something to do in this time. You didn't have to attend the meeting.
All right, Mr. Kane.
I believe it also states in there that any three aldermen can call a special meeting too, without the rest of them doing it.
nobody's arguing
It
that.
ain't got nothing to say what the three can put on it and can't put on it.
One item.
Where's
It
that,
does-
where are you, are you shooting from the hip, or can you show me the one item in black and white?
I can't show you right now because I don't have my phone.
I'm gonna say you're shooting from the hip.
Okay,
Okay,
but usually my hip is pretty damn on point. You know that. I'm not trying to be
You have a
mean.
lot of good points,
I'm just trying to figure out,
but what I can't figure out is you're the very alderman that wanted to meet once a month with workshops and twice a month.
workshop.
And do
This is different.
workshops, you
different.
can't get anything done at a workshop, Jeff. You can't vote on anything.
okay, all right,
You can't vote on anything. worth it.
That's right.
got it. We're stopping all conversation now, we're getting a little out loose here. Need a motion to accept the agenda as read, as presented, and let's proceed, and then have a motion for Mr. Craig. Okay,
I'll second that motion.
have a second. All in favor?
Uh,
Any opposed?
Yes.
Okay, now we're moving on. All right. First item is I need a motion to open the public hearing.
Make a motion to go to public hearing.
Have a motion, Mr. Case, do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
uh,
All right,
Opposed?
okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I will make sure you oppose on everything.
Thank you.
If I happen to forget it, Madam Recorder, make sure that Mr. Fisher is shown as opposed to everything tonight.
Thank
All right, moving to the second, this is the second reading of ordinance 2123. Hear a motion to hear the second reading?
Make a motion to go to second reading.
Any second?
Did we ask if anybody needed to speak?
Did you ask if anybody needed to speak? I'm sorry.
I'm gonna do that as soon as I get through with this. All right. All in favor? All right, do I have anyone that wishes to speak on the second reading of ordinance 2103? Amending the municipal code 7507, computation of fire fee amount. Yes, sir.
Are we gonna make this effective June the first? I mean, July the first?
I believe that's how it's written, yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. All right, any other questions? Hearing none, I'll close the public comment. What is the board's wishes here?
is this, this is the one that we were we had a resolution to raise it a certain amount. Mr. Fisher made a motion to raise it more than that amount.
And then we came back and on first reading approved it at 6 cents.
6.
It takes it from 12 cents to 18 cents, to a 6-cent increase.
That's the recommendation.
Yes, it is, sir. To give you an idea, Mr. Mayor, for the current fiscal year, the fire fee will probably generate around 80,000. Is that range? So a 6-cent increase would be an additional approximately $40,000 income to the city, and this is dedicated for capital improvements related to growth of the fire department. It is not, it's general fund revenue, but it's not used for general fund purposes.
And for the record, it won't affect the citizens any at all. It'd be for developers, builders.
That's correct. It's paid at the time of the building permit.
It's not a time limit on this. If we pass it, we could come back in 2 or 3 years and do it again.
Actually, the ordinance is written that it suggests or requests that it be reviewed after 2 years.
After 2 years.
Yes, the current fee has not been changed since it was initiated. There was a calculation change, but the 12 cents was not changed.
If it don't affect the citizens or anybody, I'll make a motion to pass that resolution.
Have a motion, Mr. Cates?
Second.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're in favor of that.
Yep.
Show that Mr. Fisher is in favor of that one, please, ma'am. Okay, moving on to new business. Have a motion to hear resolution 2148.
So moved.
Have a motion, have a, for Mr. Hahn, have a second? Have a second, Mr. Duncan. Resolution 2148, Fairway Villages subdivision, section C, contract amendment. Mr. J.
In paragraph 2 of the resolution in your packet, it provides the developer shall proceed at its sole expense to install the final 1-inch asphalt surface on the streets of the subdivision in accordance with the town's standard specifications.
Isn't it 1.5? Didn't, Ken, didn't we go to 1.5?
On the
Final
final
coat?
surface?
Didn't you guys go to 1.5?
I know we changed the base from 8 to 10, right?
Can we check that?
I think that was moving forward. This may precede that. I don't know on this, what kind of basis. Change the base to 8 to 10 and then the 1.5 base and an 1.5 final.
Final.
But I'm not sure.
And this says 1 inch.
Well, again, I would have to check as well, but this subdivision was already in process when that change was made.
So it was in process before it was made.
Mr. Fisher?
This is Fairway Village Section C, which is that part of the subdivision that is west of Wirt Road.
So it's pretty much built out, right?
No, the improvements are in, but no, there's no been building permits, no, sir.
No, this is to allow them to go ahead and put its road in its entirety.
Okay. I know we did one like that already, and I think we're trying to lean that way, right?
If I may, the development contract itself was approved in October of last year.
Yeah,
And if I'm correct, we changed the standards on the street in January.
right? But should that not carry over?
No,
So we're just gonna be, so that one particular road, we're gonna end up coming in, because everywhere else is 1.5 inch, and we got 1 inch everywhere. Okay, I just wanna make sure, it's on the record.
well, but we're doing, correct, Harvey, correct me if I'm wrong, the paving that we're doing right now through our contract, are we putting down 1 inch or 1.5 inch? I told you 1 inch.
See,
When
we passed a resolution to make sure it
going
was
forward,
1.5.
going forward.
Well, he's still up 1 inch today.
That was bid in September. That was awarded in September of last year before we made the change. So it's gonna be a
once a contract has been issued, Jeff, you can't go back and change it on the developer.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm
I
saying,
understand what you're saying, but he's.
we're gonna end up
Yes, we
repaving
are.
all these roads again because
But that's,
You know.
unfortunately, the contract's already been approved and done. I
we
don't
need
see
to,
how we
we
can
need to
force
kinda
that.
cease on some of these contracts and find out what we're doing first.
Okay.
Josh, I got a question. If he's doing that on his own to save us money, he still has to put up some kind of bond or something that he
Yes,
still do it
yes,
right.
yes, yes. I'm sorry, I don't know the amount.
75,000, I think.
75,000.
But once he finishes the street, that's refunded back to him
After 1 year. After 1 year.
after 1 year.
Yes, I'm a developer.
State your name, please.
Chris Lantisi, 5345 Wildwood Cove, Memphis, Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
The reason why we're here is because Ken King called me and said, Chris, we're changing over all the procedures that we're doing, and we think that we're getting a better product out there if you go ahead and install your top
Correct.
coat of asphalt.
Right.
And I said, Ken, if this is what your town, and Ken and I go back a long way, Ken's been for a long time, and Ken said, this is what I'd like to have, and I said, Ken, I'd be happy to do it. He goes, I'll take and make a resolution, and I'll take and present it to the mayor and board of aldermen. We're getting ready to take and do, we've already done our soil cement, we already did our proof roll, which Ken King was actually present for, so we're ready to start doing asphalt, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week, and as soon as that goes down, you wanna take and go and do your top coat of asphalt, at least that's his preference. So I agreed, I didn't have any reason not to agree, because he said that's what the town wanted. So that's the reason, so when I called, Jay, that's what, Jay said, well, we can go ahead and put you on, we have a special meeting, and we'll be happy to put you on. So I'm strictly here as a benefit for what the town is requesting. So,
Correct.
Do you know how much base you put down?
Inch and a half.
I'm talking about your soil cement and everything.
I think we're doing, we did, most of it, we did 10 inches, and I think the contract required 8 inches.
That's right.
And I've been doing this a long time. I've been doing it since I've been 25, when I had hair and wasn't white-headed. But anyway, most of this that we're doing now, which started years ago, was like 4 or 5 inches of base of soil cement in the spots where we have the water flow the most, we're doing 10 inches, and some of the places we're doing even more than that. We do proctor tests, I'm out there every day, so this is, you won't have any problems with the roadway in Fairway like I've seen some other places in Oakland.
Any questions for the gentleman? Thank you, sir. Appreciate your
Yes, sir.
comments.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, you've heard the discussion. What are the wishes of the board?
Make a motion to approve.
Have a motion, second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher opposed. Moving on, do I hear a motion to hear resolution 2149?
Make a motion to get resolution 2149.
Have a second? Have a second, Mr. Hahn. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Resolution 2149, authorizing professional service agreement with Fisher Arnold, evaluation of roof and roof surface of activity center. Mr. J.
You had in your, an email from myself. Fish and Arnold proposes to do this work as we described it for a not-to-exceed cost of $1,600 billed hourly at their current rates. They anticipate if given the green light to proceed, they'll have a report in 10 days to 2 weeks.
And these people, Fisher Arnold, I'm sure they can check for black mold, asbestos, any kind of hazards.
No.
Yes and no. If there are areas where they think or they find issues, they will inform us of that. Now, that's beyond the scope of their agreement here to remediate that or describe remediation.
But they can get professionals, not
Yes,
amateurs.
yes. But what we're looking at here, as you all know, the roof has numerous leaks. If you stand on the roof in a number of locations, I'll use the word spongy. I don't know what the right term is, but it gives. We also have a concern from one of the earlier inspections that there may be some issues with the roof truss that hold the roof up. And so they are going to take down areas of the ceiling and inspect the supports for the roof. And now, all this is a report and specs to repair it if that's what we're going to do. If we find out, and that's why this is a not to exceed hourly cost, if they come back in 5 days and say, you got major issues with your roof structure, then that starts to change how we would address the roof itself. I mean, it's well, the latest one is a built-up plastic, Walter, I don't even know the term for it. What is that called?
It's like a polypropylene, commercial roof, rubber membrane that they put on, and, you know, if it's put on correctly, it's like a 20 or 50-year warranty on it.
Is it got a decking under there?
To be honest with you, I really don't know, but you have to find that out from the bottom.
If it's got wood, if it's got plywood decking or something, that could be where the sponging is,
Yes, sir.
or the board.
Yes, sir.
It may not be the rafters as much as it is something else.
Yes. But the other thing, and this is separate, but we're pretty sure the insulation is water soaked.
It's 1,500 per hour.
No. It's $1,600 billed on an hourly basis, not to exceed.
Per hour. Hourly basis?
Yes.
The total is $1,600.
Depending
No
on,
matter what, it's 1,600.
not to exceed 1,600.
So, right,
Well, it could be 1,450, I mean.
okay, not to exceed 1,600.
$1,600.
We'll have a project architect and inspector on this job for the most part.
That was pro bono.
Oh, was it?
Will Mr. Owens or our engineer be involved in this?
The quick answer is no, sir. I probably will have Walter talk to the engineers, yes, but this is a consultant, and we're retaining the consultant, and it's his professional liability insurance that's gonna guide what we do.
This firm is very capable of doing what they're asked to do, and does anybody see a problem with the price? I mean, we voted to let him enter to this.
Yeah.
Is there any problem with the price?
I mean, they do this for a living, they don't
Yeah.
just guess.
I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with it.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion from Vice Mayor to accept the bid, have a second from Mr. Fisher, all in favor?
Aye.
He seconded it.
He seconded. So Mr. Fisher's okay with this one, Mr.
Y'all need to calm the hell down.
Hey, relax. What's your language here, man? We're giving you all.
Sheesh. They're all like, what?
All right, moving on. Resolution 2150, considering a bid award for mosquito spray services. Mr. J. Oh, excuse me. Do I have a motion to hear?
Motion.
Have a motion from Mr. Fisher, have a second from Mr. Cates. All in favor?
Uh-huh.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. J.
We put out bids, in a newspaper ad and also mailed the invitation to, I believe it was 4 or 5 firms? 4? 4. And, we only received 2 replies. One was from Vector Disease Control in the amount of $9,950. A second bid was received from James Pest Control. However, that bid was disqualified and was not accepted. So this is a situation, while we did actually receive 2 bids, there's only one valid bid for the board to consider. You could accept it, or you could request direct that we rebid the project.
And that's why he was disqualified?
Yes, sir. The bid was addressed to the town of Somerville, and it will provide services from April to October of 2014.
Cage, for your information, I was there when the bid opened, and I saw that. I did call the gentleman, and he said he understood that the mess up was their fault.
They brought up the form on the computer and hit send. No, I think it was truly, it's human error. It was human error.
Human error is what it was, but it does make it an illegal bid.
So vector disease isn't the one that's doing it,
They're from Arkansas.
they're from Arkansas.
They are,
They don't do their town, and they in Arkansas.
They do it all over the country.
they have the
Oh, they're just
contract with
offices
Somerville.
there.
They have the contract now with Somerville.
Vector disease does?
Now, I'm not familiar with the firm at all, and they are Arkansas-based, but,
I can add this comment if I may. Let me make this comment and I'll listen to you. When I talked to, Mr. James, he told me the company was very reputable. The other company was a very reputable company, and they would be the only ones that beside him he would recommend.
I got a concern with that, going back to what Vice Mayor Sutton said a year or so ago, is them being new, how are we gonna know that they're spraying every street they're supposed to on the time that they're?
one of our specifications was a GPS tracking report with each invoice.
I knew he had asked,
And they got this
Sutton had asked,
They have that capability.
Is your recommendation?
ain't no choice, just do it.
I don't know that much about mosquito control, but yes, they met our specs, they were familiar with our specs.
Met the criteria.
And as the mayor said,
When will
they,
start?
probably within 2 weeks of the time we signed the contract. Maybe,
We need it as soon as we can get it.
well, you know, I wouldn't be a bit surprised they couldn't start either next week or certainly the week after. The bid was, of course, that doesn't apply now, but the bid was dated June 1st through October 15th.
So would they have to redo it?
No, that was the period that we put in the bid.
Oh, okay.
That's a year.
Their cost, their bi-weekly cost is $829.16.
I make a motion to accept.
Second.
Have a motion for Mr. Fisher to accept, have a second, Vice Mayor. All in favor? Moving on. Have a motion to hear Resolution 2151.
Isn't that the same one as, 51 is another draft of the Fairway?
It's repealing the resolution 2055.
55.
Yeah, that's right, taking the place of 2055. Go ahead.
Have a
So
motion.
moved.
Got a motion from the Vice Mayor, have a second? Have a second from Mr. Cage. Resolution 2151, consideration of resolution conforming street paving bid awards to standard construction, repealing resolution 2055. Mr. J.
I don't know how detailed you want me to get on this, but last September, when you awarded the bid to Standard Construction for the street paving contract for this fiscal year, the base bid amount was $841,134.70. There was an ad alternate of $50-some-odd thousand, which took the bid award to $921,558.45. The official minutes say the board awarded the amount, ordered the contract in that amount. That is what the signed contract says. That is what the invoices say. However, and Ken King accepts that this was his error, Ken drafted the resolution based upon the base bid amount of $841,134. That resolution actually got signed, and that is what is in the recorder's official resolution book. We have a discrepancy of 160, whatever it is.
So what do we need to do to straighten this out?
We would repeal resolution 2055 and adopt resolution 2151. It would actually repeal or replace, or I don't want to say replace, but repeal 2055 and authorize, replace it with 2151.
There have to be two separate votes.
No, sir, I don't believe so. I put it all in, we put it all in one. Tom put it all
Yeah,
in one
they put it in
resolution.
one.
I think I need some more clarification on this. So the board approved the $841,000
No.
on the resolution.
On the resolution,
That's what they approved.
the resolution, yes.
I guess I'm having trouble how, if that's what was approved on the resolution, and Mr. King wrote the resolution, how we went above and beyond that.
When the minutes reflect that the board accepted the ad alternate in the amount of 921,000, the minutes show the higher amount.
Yeah, but 921 from 841 ain't 160
No,
something
that's my
thousand,
fault.
that's 80 something thousand.
No, I misspoke there. That's another number I can address. It's this. If the mayor will allow me, I'll come back and address 167,000.
Okay.
In your budget, in the adopted budget, there was 300,000 in the general fund and an amount in the state street aid fund and the $220,000 in COVID relief that your board allocated to paving. That totals 700 and some odd thousand dollars. Your contract is 941. I am preparing a budget amendment. You are 167,800? 167. Any way we cut it, our current budget is $167,000 short of the bid that was authorized. You've mentioned that previously.
Yeah, and I'll mention this, and you said if we need to call Tom, we may need to call him, but I'm not sure that you shouldn't do a budget amendment before you approve the funds that ain't budgeted. I'm not sure the budget amendment shouldn't come first.
Well, I wouldn't disagree with that, but if we're going to do that, we should have done it back in September. You approved a bid above what was in the budget, and I'm sure you had the intention of doing a budget amendment. It just hadn't been done. But all I was trying to do tonight was to clean up this discrepancy. Clean up this discrepancy, and it's human error. It's not. There's nothing nefarious. There's no. Ken apparently thought you would be accepting the base bid, and that's how he wrote the resolution. That's what he told me. I talked to him on the phone.
So is it costing the town any more?
No, sir. No, sir.
But let's backtrack a little bit. So let's say that the resolution would have come in front of the board. You could amend it to the thing. So the resolution is what permits the jobs being done, right?
Yes.
You can't do it without the resolution. You can say, hey, we approved 900, but the resolution is what constitutes the ability to make that happen.
Yes, sir.
He writes it for 841. We approve it at 841.
No. You approved. No.
The resolution.
The signed resolution is 841. The minutes reflect 921. The resolution as written should not have been signed.
Let me ask you a question. The four corners of that contract,
Yes.
what's signed
921,000.
is signed,
Yes, sir.
and you're saying the minutes reflect what?
The $921,000 amount.
And the resolution we approved on was
41,000. Yes. You know, this is just guessing on my part. You were probably focused on the bid and the bid amount, and no one caught the difference in the resolution that night.
I'm sorry, I think we were focused on what we were told.
Well, you and I weren't here.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think we were focused on what we were told, even though the board
Yeah.
was focused on what they were told. And they approved what they were told. Even though the minutes kind of jumble, it's another human error thing we have to rectify.
Yeah, I think, and I could be correct on this, I believe the minutes, most of the discussion was about the additional $50,000 in work.
Of Merle. Because if I'm
Yes.
not mistaken, we approved that at $970-something thousand instead of 921. That's what's throwing me off. I think that the work, the base work that we saw was 921.
Okay?
And then the addition of Merle, I'd have to go back and look.
And you could be. I've seen so many
It was like
numbers in the last
972
couple of days.
or something like that,
But-
which would make more sense on the figure.
Okay, but the bottom line is, the resolution in the book and the signed contract do not match. That's the bottom line. And however this board wishes to correct it, we've got to correct it.
How legally can we do that? Just by this?
By doing this resolution, at least the resolution will match the minutes.
The money won't change, it's just the wording in the contract.
It's just the wording. And if I may, Vice Mayor Sutton may be right. It may have been 921 plus Merle.
I think it was 50,000 add-on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, the discussion in the minutes is on the additional cost and not really. Kent,
Have you spoke with Mr. Minor about this?
in general, yes, I didn't get into the numbers. We talked about how we're gonna do a resolution to correct it.
I'm gonna make a motion to pass this contingent upon the town attorney agreeing that this is the proper way to handle this matter.
We have a motion by the vice mayor, second Mr. Cates, all in favor?
Aye.
I tried though. All right, moving on. Last thing, or not last thing,
Yeah, couple more.
consideration of request to declare certain property as surplus to the city. Mr. J?
With all the news coverage that we've had about the city-owned property on Main Street, over the last several months, I had a phone call from a real estate agent wanting to list the property for sale. I had a phone call and a visit with a local businessman who wanted to inquire about buying it to establish a restaurant entertainment venue. He chose not to pursue that. I think, and I could be corrected, I think the concern on the remodeling and the lack of parking were detriments for him, but we had that. About 2 weeks ago, the mayor and I were approached by a gentleman who is very interested and very serious about the possibility of purchasing the bank building property, not the activity center, but the bank building property. We talked to him and told him any sale would be as is, where is, no representations. He is interested in buying that property. I think his plan is to remodel it for offices and specialty retail, things like that. He does know the zoning. We did talk zoning. I have talked to Tom Minor. Tom had a school board meeting, could not be here tonight. If the board were to declare that property surplus and authorize, we could solicit quotes, we could solicit bids for the possible sale of that property, with the board always having the option to turn it down. If you're not interested in selling it, we'll tell this gentleman that and keep moving forward. But I think this is a serious offer or serious inquiry to purchase it.
What are we gonna be responsible for?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. And another good question is, did we disclose to the gentleman the report from Mr. Biggle?
No, we discussed it. We discussed it.
Because
We
we
did
gotta
not show it.
disclose.
We did not show him the report, but we told him.
No, we told him. He walked through the building. I told him any sale would be as is, where is. He saw the mold. He saw the conditions. He came back the next day with a ladder, and I asked him not to go all over the top roof, but he went up on the roof and looked at it. And I've had a subsequent phone call from him, and he remains interested. But yes, we could provide him, him or anybody, we could provide him the full file that I have for what I have on the building. We've got the letter from Mr. Bingham. We've got a letter from Ken King that's probably a year and a half old. We've got the sale agreement when the city purchased it. But, you know, the real question is, you know, and I felt I had to inform the board of this inquiry. But whether we go forward or not is really, I need direction.
Could we ask Woody off?
We did not get down to a final definite number, but he is aware of what we paid for it, and I would expect the number from his offer would be in the low 100s. Now, I can't sit here and say it's 108.5. I can't do that. But I think it would be a very, very competitive offer. Now, of course, the council would always have the right to reject the bid if you don't like it, or the offer he makes.
Can we use the word as is?
I did repeatedly.
I witnessed it.
Well, I don't know. I don't think it's any harm done. I just, you know, it's my understanding, and I know you gotta declare it surplus or excess property to be able to sell. I understand that, but, I mean, the original problem is that we needed space.
We still do.
And to be honest with you, it was in good enough shape to move Park and Rec over there the day we bought it.
Yeah.
Because they wasted no time moving Park and Rec into that building. But then when the board voted to move everybody over there, we had problems then. Had a lot of problems. So, I mean, we still have that problem. We don't have enough space for our people.
We don't.
And you and me both know that there's probably between 2,500 and 3,000 of square foot property that's not in that bad a shape. I mean, there was people doing business in there. They had a daycare and kids with no problem. And now we've got all these problems, supposedly. Now, the old part, I understand.
I would take issue with one thing you said. In the janitor's closet, in the part that's in better shape, has a serious mold problem. Now, how long will that develop? I can't
Did you
tell
know ozone kills mold? You put an ozonator in there, let it run for a night, it's dead, gone. It'll kill murk.
The janitor's closet is going to have to be repaired. The janitor's closet's in bad shape. The water heater's leaked, was what caused the mold. The rest of the building, or the rest of that side of the building, with some work can be definitely used. But that janitor's closet's a problem.
We've been talking about this for a year and a half or 2 years. I personally would like to either go ahead and spend money and fix it and move over there, or sell it or something. I'm tired of messing with it.
Here's
We
my
need
deal.
space.
Here's my situation about it, okay? Property values have boomed since we bought that place. First of all, everything's selling higher.
Yep.
The only thing I'm willing to do is to declare it surplus and put it on the market for everybody to buy, not to accept an offer from a single guy that I don't even know who it is and don't care who it is. But the only way that I'm interested in doing this is putting that available for anybody that wants to buy it to buy it. Period. And that's it. That ain't, and so.
But you have to remember, that is historic area.
It is.
And, it carries some roots with the city of Oakland, right? And, if it's got some value.
Yeah, yes. Well, the land, yes. The location is very good. Now, the lack of parking may be an issue, but the location, you know, to your point, if I may, would we put it on the market and say offers have to be submitted by X date, or we just evaluate each offer as it comes in, or?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the only way, and I wouldn't agree to hiring a real estate agent either, because we got too many of them in town. Why would we do that? And so,
How can we get a value? Can we get somebody to go and appraise it and give us a value?
Was that appraised during this home appraisal, or that was just homes? The new appraisal?
I could check, but normally government property's not reappraised. I'd have to ask, do you know?
It's normally not.
I just like to do something, we need some space, we either need to build a new one or fix that one.
whatever it was appraised at back when we bought it, you can add 24-point-something% to it.
Did the city get an appraisal then?
No, all we got was a letter, we never saw that it wasn't nothing wrong with it.
I've not seen an appraisal. There may be one, but I've not seen it.
The first price, I think we voted down, and then they come back with another price about half of what they were asking for.
But the problem I got with it is, we sell it for $100,000 plus whatever it is, let's just say $100,000. We approved that. We're not gonna buy something big enough for $100,000.
No, sir, you're not.
We still don't know what the cost is to fix it. Parking's the parking.
If I may, I think you just identified the X factor. We don't know what it's gonna take to make that building useful. Now, if we're only talking about the 4,000 square feet on one side, that's one number. If we're talking about the whole building, that's another number.
Talking about 65, right? 65 Main Street.
Yes, sir. And the other issue, and I think we all know, the roof on the old bank building is a serious problem. It's going to probably have to be fully replaced. I mean, there's tin metal on that roof.
That's 100.
No, it was used to patch it.
We know we're gonna have to spend money on it to fix it up, or we either gonna have to sell them, but.
Just keep
we
it-
need space bad.
It's about 8,000 square foot over where you're talking about total.
Total.
Total square foot is about 8,000 square foot, and that building alone was appraised, the previous appraisal was 185,800. So 185,800 times 1.24. About 191,000. So,
We're about 91,000 short.
Well, you don't have an official bid, he was just throwing some numbers at you. All we're asking tonight is, do you wanna do that? Do you wanna see if you wanna declare surplus property and take bids on it? And you have the right to reject them? Or do you just wanna keep the building and let's move on with remodeling it and through the architect firms and stuff? We felt obligated to bring that to you, and then you make the decision. It's not our decision.
We need to do something,
Just sitting here.
sitting there 2 years now.
If the decision is not to sell, based upon your actions at our last meeting, we will have Fisher Arnold give us a proposal for the evaluation of that building and have it on your next agenda.
Could we wait for that?
Well, all that would be a proposal to evaluate it, not the
You
evaluation.
were gonna spend all that money and turn around and sell it.
Oh, we will keep it, that way we know what the X factor is.
I mean, some of the stuff bothers me, and I'm not trying to pick on Mr. Johnson but for him to make a statement, he knows what we pay for, what difference does that make? He knows what I pay for my house
Well-
if he gets on here, but he can't buy it for that today.
Well, no, I think that was in the context, that's what we paid for all three buildings, if you will. And I told him the activity center was not for sale.
Well, none of it's for sale.
True.
But,
It'd be really for me to call him up and say, the board decided that it's not for sale, and that's the end of the conversation, and we'll move forward with remodeling. Or move forward with the reevaluation to remodel.
Okay. Call him up, tell him it's not for sale.
Well, we need a motion here, folks, or need to,
Well, he just
No, I
said
don't
he could
have
do
to.
that.
I'm gonna make a motion to table this until our monthly meeting.
Yes.
motion to table? All right, moving on. All
All-
in favor?
Yes. Aye.
It was not our intent, gentlemen, to force you into doing anything. It's our intent to bring the information to you.
Oh, I understand. I completely do. It's just, I have trouble with, we needed space, we buy space, and now we declare it surplus because we don't need space anymore, but we hadn't bought any more space. And so, it just,
No, please, we desperately need space.
Yeah, we understand that.
But we
just got
need,
obligated
we
to bring
need
it to you.
space that is safe.
All right, having finished that up, let's move on.
Lucky you got the last word.
Consideration of authorizing new position notice. Mr. Johnson.
and it's a good air conditioner over there too, in that building.
Then you might have some volunteers ready to move over there. Briefly, last January, I sent the board a memo that kind of evaluated what I saw as long-term issues in terms of our organizational structure that we needed to look at, I needed the board to look at. As part of our budget planning for FY '22, I would like to initiate the first of those. I am proposing a reorganization, a restructuring, not a reclassification, a restructuring, reorganization of the planning office inside the building department into a full department that would be the Department of Planning and Community Development. This department would have all the current functions of the planning office, planning, zoning, subdivision, things like that, but they would also be involved in the broader perspective of the development of the city, community development block grants, other grants, EDA grants, things like that. We need to elevate. We're one of the fastest growing cities in the Mid-South. We're one of the fastest growing cities in Tennessee. We need to elevate the planning office to where it's a department of the city reporting directly to the town manager. And it's an appointment that would be approved by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. And what I'm proposing is, if the board would allow, I would post this new position to accept applications, and this restructuring reorganization would be effective September 1st.
What would happen to the town manager, of the town planner we got now?
He would be invited to apply, he would be welcome to apply, but if he's not selected, then his position, the planner position would not be refunded.
So, where you want to restruct the whole thing?
Yes, sir. This is,
The impression that you was less than one we got.
no, sir. No, sir. This is a one-for-one in terms of head count. This is not an additional position to the city.
I agree with it needs some.
Mr. Fisher.
I'm opposed to it for a little part. We need a plan of the restructuring of the whole of code. We're not getting, we need a whole plan to go, hey, we're gonna work on this one today, but we're gonna come over here next month and look at this one, and then we're gonna come over here and look at this one. We've got just a little piece. I know you wanna do it piecemeal, but we need a whole picture.
I would suggest to you, my reply to you is my January memo was that outline.
I've got that, but the whole picture isn't in there. I've looked at it. As a matter of fact, that was part of it. And I was like, no, we need something better.
Okay?
Okay.
More details, I would say would be better.
All right. Vice Mayor, do you have something you want to say?
Yes.
And you, Mr. Kay.
Well, first of all, Mr. Johnson did send us, and he said that it would be a step process. He'd
Sure did.
return later with how the process is supposed to be started. Rome wasn't built in a day, and Oakland ain't gonna be fixed in a day. I wanna share that a good friend of mine, or he was my high school football coach, is the mayor of Atoka. When I went over there to meet with him, he explained that until they hired somebody that was in growth and had experienced this before in a regional type manner, job in this town. If you could have that's where you want it with the town planner. That's up to a certain point, and there's no difference how I feel about the engineering. Sometimes it gets.
And would be welcome to, I mean, yes.
I make a motion, we allow Mr. Johnson to post that position. Yes, sir.
I will. Mr. Cates wanted to ask something.
Go back to what Vice Mayor Sutton said and what Alderman Fisher said. It's no way that you could do all these departments at one time. You're overloaded, and I agree with what you're saying. You pick one place at a time that you got experience in, and you go that direction, then you move on, because that way you know what you've done and what you didn't do, and you learn from it. That's my opinion. And I got another question before we vote on that. The new one that's, if we get a new one, or the one we got, whoever gets it, are they still gonna be working for Oakland, Selmer, Mason, Newbern?
No, sir. No,
Or
sir.
They're gonna be working for Oakland?
They'll be working for Oakland.
And when, not to interrupt Mr. Cates, but we actually ask to be provided with when he meets with those other places, what nights,
I asked for that twice.
what days. We've never been provided anything on that. And this board has requested it more than one time.
I requested it.
Because I felt like he missed some things because he was meeting somewhere else, and I thought that it actually might have conflicted with town business, because it was some times I thought he should have been there and he wasn't. And we asked for that information, and we've yet to ever get that. You know, that's,
So regardless of who gets the job, that will be eliminated on the other 5 towns.
Yes. Now, you know, I'm going to speculate for a second, but let's say that Mr. Pate is not selected here, then he could keep those other towns. It wouldn't matter to us.
Understand that.
Yeah. I'm probably not saying it right. I see this position from a different perspective than I think the expectations have been in Oakland in the past, what you were talking about. I see this position as being a full member of the management team, reporting directly to the town manager, being involved, if we have economic, being involved in grants, being involved in intergovernmental relations. In my opinion, we've got to do more than we've done in the past, from what I understand, and that's something the mayor and I have been working on the last 6 months. I think all of you know that. We're really trying to establish Oakland in terms of the area and what we want to be involved in. And I think having this position, I have experienced what a highly skilled individual with the broad perspective can provide to a city in terms of planning. And again, that's not taking anything away from one individual, because our planner's got some very good skills in some areas. He does, and I'd say that to anybody. But I think this is an opportunity to look at it from a different perspective.
and what I've seen that department be totally reactive instead of proactive. There's not a lot of planning. It's a lot of stuff submitted, and then we react to it and do that. There's nothing ever been presented like a road plan to us or any type of planning, you know. And so I think that's the direction that I'm seeing to come. But let me say this: with that being done, that is a huge part of that department over there. The planner is a huge part of that code.
Yes and no. Do they interact a great deal? Yes. Should their offices be in close proximity to each other? Yes. But no, they are not intertwined in daily operations. Building and codes is what's happening now on the property. As you just said, planning needs to be looking at it.
I don't know if you know what I'm getting at.
I do.
Because Mr. Owens supervised Mr. Pate.
Yes.
Is what percentage of work in that office would you consider is done out of the planning office? Because what I'm getting at is if we're paying Mr. Owen X amount of dollars to supervise over the planning department and the code enforcement department and the inspection department, then what percentage of his salary is supervising by the day? I'll tell you this, there's 3 other employees over there. So is it at the very least a third? So then, you know, you talk about it not being more money, but naturally if you get the guy that's got the qualifications that are written, he's gonna make more than the guy's making today. And will that come from payroll from that same department?
No, I was not looking at this as being punitive or disciplinary or anything like that. I would evaluate it a little differently. Walter is the supervisor of the planning office, but Walter is a working director. He does our building inspections. He's the only commercial certified inspector we have.
But why is that? We hired somebody that they did a lateral transfer, I believe, from Harvey's department over to there. It's been a long time. He was supposed to get the certifications.
My understanding is he has residential certification.
But
Well, now, I think, Vice Mayor Sutton's confused on the gentleman that was transferred from his department to the building department is no longer with the town. Is that what you were saying, somebody from his department?
somebody transferred, but so
He's no longer with the town because he could not get certified.
So how many people you got?
he's got 3, 4 and a part-time.
So you had 5, because one's no longer with the town, now you only have 4.
Well,
That's what we're hearing.
we have one certified inspector besides myself. We have a part-time code compliance person, and we have another full-time code compliance person. The full-time code compliance person basically runs the office.
Well, I guess that's where I've got a problem, and I'm not a voting member, but I'm speaking up now. We need to look at that department, Mr. Johnson, and get with Walter, get some ideas between you two, and come up with a better way to organize that thing. Am I hearing that from you?
Yeah, and I just,
Yeah. We're discussing.
Yeah.
Well, no, we're still there.
well, I'm trying to figure out how that's gonna affect the other department.
Right.
And that's the thing. When you talk about no expense, it winds up being an expense some kind of way. And so that's what I'm trying to rationalize. If that responsibility because I mean, to be honest, we got those contracts coming up too. You're out here looking at 3. I'm looking at 3 people. Contract expires this year, and we're gonna have to make a move on that because they're either gonna have to have another something to say, hey, I'm gonna be an at-will employee on a day-to-day basis, or they're gone. Well, yeah.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, so if that department is where it's at, if he's a working director, then there's no supervision there. So is that still a director's job? Do you increase the directors? Because now you're talking about
There'll be 6.
vehicles.
There'll be 6. How much are you looking at this position paying?
Between 50 and 60.
Between 50 and 60. And we have one right now that makes around, say, 65, okay?
52
What?
base?
Walter,
No. Oh, Walter.
Oh, no.
okay, there's that department, okay?
This is not
This is
Walter.
not about Walter. This is about
I
planning.
understand, but Walter's in charge of that department,
You don't,
planning, correct? So
Yes.
it is about Walter as well. It's not about Walter, his job, it's about the salary that's placed on that Walter's hands, which is his salary plus we're gonna put another director around there, which we're gonna split that department.
Yes.
So yes, funds are gonna be shifted around and all that. It is about Walter.
But
It is
Harvey's
about
sitting,
that financing of that new position.
Harvey's sitting there wanting his to be split.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
does.
Public Works and water,
He does.
wastewater.
What, and I'm sorry, I know where you're coming from, but I'm coming at it from a different perspective. I see the planning restructuring as adding value to this city, adding value to things we're not getting done now.
What does a town manager, town planner salary now?
In the very high 40s,
40s?
very high 40s,
And then you're talking about 50s,
50s to 60.
so how much more are you getting for the money?
If I could, yeah, but for $8,000 to $10,000, I'm hoping to get an individual that can do both current and long-range planning, that can participate in evaluation of land use, that can represent us on the MPO and other area agencies in terms of long-term planning. I'd like somebody that has perhaps experience in grants, grant writing and grant administration. We're not getting value from the consultants we have in Nashville, you know. Now, we may not have used them as much as we should have, but we're not getting a lot of value there. One of the things that I've noticed here, and I don't mind, but many, many developers call my office, or previously called the mayor's office, and don't deal with planning.
Do you mind us asking Mr. Walter how much
How come?
supervision that he provides to the planning department?
What is your question?
How much supervision do you provide to the planning department?
Very little, because I don't know much about planning.
Yeah, I mean, if, that's definite that,
This is a professional level position. I actually agree with Walter from a different perspective. A planner should not require a great deal of supervision. They should have initiative and self-starting and
So he would be actually working with you and not Walter.
that's correct. He'd be a department head. Yes, now it'd be a one-person office, but it, yeah.
So that would clear Mr. Owens from any supervision.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Now,
I see what you're.
unless until we move, the office is probably gonna remain in the same location, but,
and keep in mind, I tried to make this motion while, all we're doing is allowing him to post the position. I make a motion, we allow Mr. Johnson to post the position.
all right, we have a motion by the vice mayor to post position. Mr. Duncan, I believe you second, Mr. Cates, you second, so you take your choice.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. I believe that concludes our agenda, Mr. Johnson. Is there anything else
No.
you need to say?
No, it's not, you gotta.
Yeah, you got something else.
Not on my sheet.
No, that's, I'm sorry, that's the one that we canceled over the bill on.
We're through on it. I thought we were through.
Drug task force. Are we not doing that one? Follow up the discussion of work made by the.
that will actually be on your 17th agenda for action. I was just trying to inform you.
If y'all want to, I'm gonna give him Miss Yvonne that copy of that dude's driver's license, y'all. Oh, don't fall.
All right, I got a motion to adjourn. Can we adjourn?
Second, aye.
Aye, let's go home. Go.
Just trying to keep things straight.
Oh, Lord. Never know what's gonna come out of this meeting when you guys, y'all keep it entertaining. I know what you were doing.
Yeah.
No, that's his.
You've done it preemptive.
That's his. Everybody's asking about your garbage. I know. Oh, he's done that a couple with me. And I said, don't push me, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't need that.
I'm not proud. They gotta deal with me for 4 years.
Yeah, I caught that too.
Uh,
Hey, yeah, a true story.